Hello and welcome to my channel, Duck Potatoes World. Today we are going to be trying out a new yarn on my circular sock machine. This is called BouncyBoo. This yarn is one that I picked up when I was doing my birthday yarn crawl in Dallas from the Fiberlady, and it is 87% bamboo rayon and 13% Sorona, and it is a sport weight yarn, so it's a little thicker than I usually use on my sock machine. But David of Fiberlady, he gave me this specifically to try out on my machine. So we are going to go through the whole process. We're going to wind it and see how it winds up on a cone. We're going to put it on the machine and just kind of see how this yarn knits up. I have made, I think, a pair of socks with some bamboo in them. Actually, I'm not even sure I've done that. I'd have to check. I don't think I've done any bamboo on my machine. I think I've made some with bamboo by hand, just not in my machine. So I'm excited to try this out. And thank you to David and Fiberlady for providing the yarn for this video. So this colorway I think is called Summer Day. It is gorgeous. I love it. I'm gonna string it up on my Swift here. It's a little bit of a different setup than I usually use when I'm winding yarn because I have a whole lot of stuff out right now. Let's see. There we go. Somewhere. I have misplaced the thing that attaches to the table. It was here earlier today. Oh! I put it away. Alright. So sorry. Should have had that set up already. There we go. So now we will find our ends. This yarn has a really pretty shine to it. It's very lovely. And it's very soft. Oh, there, that was easy to find the end. I'm going to use this. So I'm going to wind the yarn into a cake first and then wind it into a cone from there. I can wind into a cone straight off of my Swift. However, that can be really temperamental sometimes when I do that. So for yarns that I've not worked with before, I would rather wind them into a cake first and then do the cone from the cake. They just tend to have less hiccups that way. I really like my sewing machine threader. I use it to provide a little extra tension when I wind yarn and when I knit with my sock machine, and it works really well. Well, that definitely came off the hank and into a cake beautifully. That was just, I got a beautiful cake out of that. Gorgeous. Love it. So it wound into a cake. Now let's see how it goes on a cone. Play musical chairs with the sock yarn right now. All right, I'm gonna need my drill. And I'll need a cone. And I'm actually gonna weigh this real quick so I know how much will be yarn and how much will be cone, and make a little note of that just so that when I'm making my socks I can make sure I don't use too much yarn in my socks. Asher, did you have something in the oven? Okay, so I'm going to put my yarn in my yarn bowl, and I'm going to put my yarn bowl on the floor, and I am going to wind my cone. The drill. I've definitely had cones that did not cone as nicely. This is coned up very easily. And I was worried with the bamboo that it would be kind of slippery, but it's not, really not even slippery. It's very lovely looking actually. So there's our cone. Now I've already got my sock machine, Sock-a-Latte over here, set up and ready to start the toe. I'm going to do a toe up sock. I use the Dean and Bean toe up sock recipe, or toe up sock pattern, simple toe up sock. I'll put the name of the pattern on the screen. Except I don't do a wedge heel. I go ahead and do the plain heel that's in their simple sock that's cuffed down. So I do the toe up sock with the cuff down heel. I'll put all that up here for you. I'm going to switch the camera angle so you can see into the cylinder, and we'll get started with the sock. All right, so I've got my yarn set up here. I'm going to thread it through the machine, drop it down into the cylinder. Right now I have the tension set pretty loosely because I know this is a little bit thicker yarn. So we shall see. And I have both my large and my medium weight, actually, both down in my cylinder right now. I'll probably have to put my V-hook on, so I've got that handy, especially if I want to put both my large and my medium in there, which I think I'm going to need. But we'll see. I might not need it. We'll just see. So let's drop. I'm actually going to drop it right here so my toe will begin in this pretty yellow section, although it changes color pretty quickly. So that may not, actually I don't think I'm gonna worry about that. Never mind. Change my mind. Alright, got my sock in there. I've already set it up to do a toe up sock. If you need instruction on using your Dean & Bean or setting it up to do a toe up sock, Dean & Bean has an excellent YouTube channel. They walk you through step-by-step instructions for that. We're just gonna explore how this BouncyBoo Bamboo Sock Yarn works on my machine. So that was the first row, and everything knit beautifully and easily, so that's encouraging. And nothing is riding up on my needles, so that's also encouraging. Put my heel spring on. Oh, that worked pretty well too. We're off to a good start. I'm gonna go ahead and put my heel weights in, I think, at this point. So I am using a lot of weight. I have both my large and my medium sock weight down in there. In fact, I think I'm going to take out my medium sock weight and see how it does. Since it's doing so beautifully, I may not need both weights. Get all the bits and bobbles tucked back down in there. If it starts to ride up, we can put the medium weight back in. Well, there we go. Get it all back down there. All right, there we go. Oh no, that's staying down quite nicely with just the large weight. I do need it to be loose enough to stretch across the cylinder so that I can do the toe. So that's definitely a concern. I don't want it so tight that I can't get my toe done. But it's actually knitting up very easily on the machine so far. Time to adjust my heel forks apparently, as both of my end stitches didn't want to knit there. Time to adjust my heel forks again. I am thinking I'm having to adjust my heel forks a little more often than I usually do. And there's not a lot of stretch in this yarn, so I'm hoping I'm going to be able to reach my toe across. I have my tension set, like I said, pretty loosely, pretty far down on that third line. But I don't usually have to raise my heel forks quite this often. doing pretty good. Oh. Didn't quite catch that. So I'm gonna lift, I'm gonna drop, I'm gonna adjust my heel forks again. Sure what we're kind of catching on as we come around there. I don't normally have it catch like that. Make sure my weights aren't catching on something down there. I don't feel anything. I'm using a 60 needle cylinder today because that's what size I usually make my own socks on. And this pair's going to be for me. Heels forks one more time here. Excuse me. All right, we're almost done with the toe here. All right, moment of truth. We will find out if this bamboo sock yarn is going to stretch across here and reach to complete the toe. Now, I've made some pretty tight toes before, so oh, take the weight out. That'll help. That will definitely help. And look at that. It's a little tight, but I think we can manage. So let's give it a try. Kind of wishing my ravel cord wasn't the same color as the sock yarn, but that is not the fault of the yarn, of course. I think we're gonna be okay. Excuse me. All right, so far so good. I'm just being really careful I don't miss any because the green ravel cord and the green sock yarn are so close. It's kind of hard to... I'm a little worried I'm going to miss something thinking it's ravel cord.
I don't have any other color of ravel cord though. This is just the color I have, so there's, again, not really the sock's fault and not really anything I can do about it anyway. So it's definitely going to be tight. But we're getting there. We're making it. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're doing good. Double up on this side. Ooh, here we go. This is where it's really getting hard because that ravel cord and that sock yarn are like the same color. And also it's very, very, very tight right here. So when I start doing my foot rounds, I'll need to go very slowly and make sure all of these little bits of yarn stay where they're being put. And don't try to jump off. Oop. Here we go. Come on, just 2 more. Look at that, y'all. We're gonna make it. All right, so it made it across the cylinder, and it actually wasn't even the tightest toe I've ever hung. So that's great. So there's our toe. Let's get rid of our extra stuff here. Sorry, apparently I have a dog that's bored. I don't know if you can hear him making noise over there. Here we go. All right. I'm really happy with that, actually. I have to admit, I was a little apprehensive about this bamboo yarn with no nylon or anything stretchy in it. I don't know what the, I guess I'll have to do some research and write it up on the screen, but I don't know what that other Sorona, I'm not sure what Sorona is. I'll have to do some research and see what that is exactly. Maybe that's helping give it some stretch. Isn't that lovely? I got like, really, I don't know how that worked out, but it's circling out really very nicely in that toe. That was just a lucky coincidence. Let's get my waist yarn and my bonnet out of here. All right, so there we go. Turn on my row counter. I'm going to go ahead and take the heel spring off at this point and set, I think I will set my V-hook. I think I'm going to need it to get started because it's a little snug. And I don't want anything jumping off if we can avoid it. So I would love to hear from anyone that has a CSM if they know the best way to set the V-hook. I feel like I always have a little trouble with the corners of the toe wanting to not catch. They want to like jump off the needles. So I've tried setting it, usually I set the V-hook where the hooks are there, thinking maybe that will provide more stability, but I'm going to try it this way this time just to see if it does better. So far, that does not appear to have helped me out any. So missed a catch here. We'll fix that real quick. Missed a needle here. Let's see here. There we go. It doesn't feel that tight. It just acts that tight in that one spot. There's another one that didn't knit. Fix it when it comes back around too. Fortunately, needles that don't knit are pretty easy to fix. I'm hoping if I just keep my thumb over here, maybe it'll settle in after a little while. Let's try taking the V-hook out and see if I can just set the bag in now. Or I may have to go and add the second weight back in at this point because the toe is just too tight and can't loosen back up. We shall see. See what that does for me. I definitely did not forget my heel spring. It's definitely off. Just those corners of the toe, they don't want to knit sometimes. But actually it looks pretty good otherwise. So it's definitely riding a little higher on my needles. It's not as nice and loose as it was when I started. Yeah, it's not riding as low as it did when I first started, which is just probably because the toe was so tight. Just means I'm going to have to kind of babysit it a little. Keep it from riding up. What I think I'm going to do is try putting the large weight and the medium weight both back in the V-hook together. See what that does for me. All right, let's see what this does for us, if anything. Here we go. Come on. Okay, whoop, got my ring upside down. There we go. Let's see what that does. That's a lot. That's a large and a medium weight now. Yeah, it's still riding pretty high on my needle. It's just tight. It's definitely coming off the cone nicely. That's for sure. See if I can set my weights in the bottom of the sock now. Not wild about the V-hook. It does work and it does what it needs to do. And I don't have a better solution for toe-up socks than the V-hook. But when I don't need to use it, I prefer to just drop my weights down into my toe. Let's see how that does. Working pretty good. All right, let's check and see with my handy dandy sock ruler, which is still my absolute favorite way to make socks on my sock machine for sizing. I love it. I like to make my socks to be about a woman's 7.5. So I'm at a kid's 13, so I still have a ways to go here. No problem. Set my weights and keep going. My dog says hi. And I think she's hungry. Catch my cylinder. Sometimes the weights will catch on the inside of the cylinder, so you kind of have to watch that. Especially when I have a lot of weight in there. I just have to stop every now and then to make sure everything is hanging freely in this, out the bottom there. All right, that's 62 foot rounds. I'm gonna check my shoe size again, or my sock size, I mean. A few more to go still. On the first sock, I have to stop and check frequently. Of course, when I do the second sock, I don't have to stop nearly as much because I don't have to measure. Well, just a couple more rounds, not far. And it's easy to go past, so I'll probably stop and check every round for a few rounds here. You're almost to the heel. Let's do one more round. One more. The fabric it's making, you can't really see right now, but it feels very nice to my hand when I reach down and fiddle with it with the sock. All right, that's where we're gonna stop right there. It's 69 foot rows, so of course I'm gonna make a note of that. And we will start the heel. Put both my weights back in here. Alright, so the heel is much looser already. Let's see, I need heel forks. Other heel forks. There we go. Alright, got the heel fork set. There we are. Oh, heel spring. I should set that too. There we go. Move up our heel forks already. So if I need to, I can always take my heel spring off and manage my yarn by hand. Nope, I didn't do that right. I was supposed to lift that one. Ooh, there we go. If I need to, just because it's too tight, I can always try that. And I might need to. It was working better without the heel spring on, actually. So that just means I just have to keep track of catching the yarn by hand, that's all. Which is not that hard. But yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna do this one without the heel spring and just manage my yarn by hand. It's much easier. Much less stress on it. Much nicer. If I were to do it over, I might even do the toe without the heel spring and just manage my yarn by hand. That would probably loosen up my toe enough that it wouldn't have gotten so tight to begin with, which would have been nice. But all in all, it is working quite well still. I'm pretty sure we're gonna have a sock at the end, which is pretty much my definition of success. If I have a sock at the end of it, I'm gonna be happy. Almost time to turn back and go the other direction. Still just managing my heel by hand, or my yarn, I mean, no heel spring. couple of missed stitches here. I'm gonna fix these up and then we're gonna stop. I've got to switch out my battery and I'll be right back with you. That one. Bring it behind. All right. All right. Got a fresh battery. Ooh. Need to move up my heel forks, clearly. There we go. That worked better. Stay on top of those heel forks. Usually I find that my legs are looser than my feet. I don't know why that is. I don't know if things loosen up when you turn the heel or if I'm doing something weird. But I'm hoping when we get around to the leg, it's going to be a little looser than that foot was. I've never had a heel that drops stitches in the middle. I don't know if this is because I'm managing the yarn by hand instead of using the heel spring. I don't normally do that either. Or if there's some other reason that those middle stitches aren't wanting to catch. Not really sure what that's about. Probably just need to keep moving my heel spring up more often. This yarn does seem to want the heel springs up pretty close at all times. Getting close to finishing this heel here. So somehow I've gotten off around. I'm not really sure what I did something twice or forgot to lift a needle. I'm not that stressed about it. I'm just gonna wrap this one and call it good. And we're gonna go with that. One row here or there is probably not gonna make a big difference for me. So there's my heel. I probably got turned around when I stopped to change the battery or something. Take my forks out. My heel spring's already off, so I don't have to worry about that. Now I just need to set my C-clamp and get my weights back in my sock here. I'm also going to weigh my yarn just so I know how long to make the leg. I like a fairly long leg if I have enough yarn. But I don't want to use so much yarn that I don't have enough to make the second sock. So I am going to check the weight of what my yarn and my cone are at this moment in time. still have 81 grams, so I'm still good for a while before I get to the halfway point. I got about 30 grams, give or take a little. So that's good to know. Gonna get my big weight in here. I'm gonna start off with just this big weight and see if it loosened up enough that I don't need the other one. I think I'm going to do 10 rounds and then weigh it again and see how much yarn I'm using. Sometimes I think it works better if I stick the knot end down. I'll weigh my yarn again. About 2.5 grams for 10 rounds, so I've got plenty to make a nice long leg here. I think I'm going to aim for 60 leg rounds. Sure what's catching here. Just in that spot for some reason. So something wonky happened on this needle, so I'm just gonna unknit it and reknit it. I think it split the yarn for some reason. Not really sure what the hiccup is, but split yarn is easy to fix. So we're gonna fix it. Yeah, I think that's what happened. There we go. Yeah, it's still just a little tight. So it's, I mean, like it's the top of the third line for tension. I probably could go down to a little bit. So I think, honestly, I think this yarn would work beautifully if I just went down on my tension a little bit more. My C-clamp is falling out. I'm thinking, what happened? Let's just move it up. This yarn is a little on the thick side, so the C-clamp is, I had a hard time stuffing the heel all down inside the C-clamp. Because it's a little bit thick. But there we go. Missed one. stitch. Like to do, I think, 60 leg rows and then 30 rows for my cuff. So when I get to 50, I think I'm going to stop and weigh my yarn again. Let me know what you guys think of my camera angle. I tried a little bit of a different setup today and I think it's working pretty well. Yep, my C-clamp was caught on my cylinder. All right, so there's 50. I'm going to stop and weigh my yarn again. How much I've used. Make sure I have enough to do the second sock. Yep, I think I'm good. I think I can do 60. I think I can do 70 more rows if I wanted to. So 30, set aside 30 for my cuff, which means I could do maybe as many as 90 leg rows. I don't know if I want to do that many. I'm going to do at least 60, and then I'll weigh my yarn again just to be safe. I think I'm fine. But you know, out of an abundance of caution. There's another one that it looks like it just split the yarn a little bit. There we go. Got a couple more missed stitches. I really just think it's just a hair too tight in the tension. So there's 60. Check my weight on my yarn again. Oh yeah, still doing well. Gonna go ahead and do 70 leg rounds here. move up my ring clamp just a little bit again. It definitely feels like it wants to get tighter the more we go, which is not great. But again, I don't think that's so much the yarn as I just probably should have started off a little looser to begin with. I've never knit with this yarn before, so I didn't want to start off so loose that my sock was just unpleasant. It's not caught on anything. No, we're riding up for sure. I think it got caught back here in my feeder. The yarn did. That's what caused this little run of loose stitch, unknit stitches here. So let's see, these don't want to, they're very tight, the stitches that need to go over the new yarn here. It doesn't want to cooperate, but I think we'll be able to make do here. If not, I can always start over with the tension down a little and see if that doesn't fix some of my troubles. But this is because what happened here was the yarn got caught on something else in the back. You can't see it where the feeder was. Got caught on one of the clamps and caused all this extra tight spot here. But we're getting it. We're getting it fixed. I'll tell you what I think I'm going to do. I think I'm going to just start the stock over. That happens sometimes with a little bit looser tension and see how we do. Alright, so I've got everything set up to try again. I've got my tension down to the bottom of the third line, which is about as low as it can go. And I am ready to try this sock again with a looser tension. I just have the one weight in right now. Hopefully that will be enough, but I can add more weight if I need to. So here's my first bit of the toe here. I'm gonna put my heel spring on, maybe. There we go. And let's get started with the toe. Get my heel forks in place now. go. I don't think there's any such luck that I'm going to have the same little nice bullseye toe I got the first time. No such luck. I'm going to wrap again. Roll around this side again. So far, this is going very nicely. Sorry, I'm shaking my camera a little bit. Heel forks probably need to come up again. Now, I'm not getting quite the beautiful bullseye I got the first time. But that's okay. I apologize, my camera is attached to my table, so if the table gets bumped, it does shake a little, and I'm sorry about that. Definitely think this toe is looser than the first one, which is going to be nice. I was able to hang the first toe, but it was a little bit of a struggle. I think this one's going to be nice and easy. All right. Oop, I bumped my light there. I think I finally figured out how to get my light on here without washing everything so out that the camera can't pick anything up, so that's good. Live and learn. I'm definitely not like a lighting specialist or a cameraman of any sort. But there we've got a toe. And oh yeah, I'm not gonna have any problem making that reach. So that's a good start right there. I still have the same problem where my ravel cord and my yarn are basically the same color in places. So I'll have to be very careful, make sure I don't miss any little parts that I need to hang. I managed it last time, so yeah, I got the first sock, I got almost the whole thing done almost, and then caught my yarn on. I have these big clamps that hold the machine to the table, and a loop of yarn got up under one of those somehow, and then I didn't notice it, and so I cranked, and of course it pulled everything really tight, and since everything was already kind of tight, that did not bode well, unfortunately, for finishing the leg of that sock. So that was all right. It was kind of tight, like I said, so it was probably good to start over anyway and make sure I had a little bit looser tension. Come here, little guy. And this toe is much easier to hang already, so that's a good sign. I really do like this yarn. I like wool yarns, and I wear wool yarns year round, even in Texas where it's not hardly ever cold, really. But I also like wool alternatives because when I give socks as gifts, sometimes I don't want to have to make people worry about if they dried their sock or washed it right, or sometimes I don't want to worry about that. Sometimes people might have a wool sensitivity or a wool allergy that you need to consider. So I'm real excited to have a bamboo option. And look at that, no trouble hanging that toe at all. That was super easy. Looks very nice. I don't have the great little bullseye I had on the first toe, but when you change your tension, it changes your gauge a little, and it'll change the way things knit up. So definitely the fun little bullseye effect was not worth the super tight sock. For sure. So let's get this setup bonnet here off of, oops, tearing up my ravel cord. That's not good. Kind of defeats the purpose of the stuff. Darn it. I'll have to cut that off. I go through ravel cord ridiculously quickly. I'm just not careful. I poke it with my little pick tool all the time. Fortunately, this is a really long one, so it won't be a big deal if I have to cut that end off. we go. Set up bonnet, come out. Sometimes, I don't know what it gets hung up on down there, but sometimes my waste yarn gets hung up on something under there and doesn't want to just pop out nice and easy like it's supposed to. Go figure. Got a knot I'll have to deal with later in my waste yarn, but that's okay. Later will be soon enough to deal with that. Look at that beautiful toe. Really happy with that. That was much nicer than the first one. So I'm going to get my large weight in this toe here. I have a V-hook if I need it. I'm hoping I won't need it. Get that. Take my heel fork off. Make sure I have a nice, easy. Still looks good. Make sure all that caught. Now I'll have to remeasure the whole thing again because I changed tension, so I can't use the measurements I got on my first sock. And we missed a stitch right here. Those corners of that toe, they like to be tricky. Make sure we pick it up. Any stitches that didn't knit as we come around. It's got the latch hook kind of caught in it there. These corner stitches are just tricky. They're tricky on every kind of sock yarn I've ever used. It's not special to the BouncyBoo, that's for sure. Just kind of have to watch them, those corner edges as we come around. Missed one, but still overall this is, you can see that's lying a lot nicer, closer to the bottom of the needle than it did on the first foot. So overall I think this is a better tension, even if I'm still having a little bit of an argument with these corner stitches. We had something a little bit funky going on over here again. Get that out of the way. Not really. I think this is the stitch and it's just sort of popped off the needle, so I'm going to get a stitch marker. I was hoping this would be a nice uneventful sock for us, but I tell you, that almost never gets to have a nice uneventful sock. That's just starting to think that's a pipe dream. Okay, let's see. Get this off of the hook and back in the right spot. The trick is not to remove the stitches from the adjacent needles while trying to fix the stitch that's not right. I think I'm just going to lift these up And that should prevent me from, there we go, losing those. Okay, here we go. Save that for later since I'm kind of confident I'm going to need it later. Once we get these corner stitches to behave, I think this is going to go really well. Come on, there we go. Okay, you are fine. You two both need to be knit with this one. All right, here we go. Come on. I do talk to my knitting all the time. It does not answer me back, and it doesn't generally listen to me either, but I still find that I feel better if I talk to it. There we go. Everything's where it should be. We're a whole 3 rows into the foot and counting. Let's see. Here we go. Hey, we still missed that same needle for some reason, but hopefully that will stop soon. Probably should have got my V-hook out. That probably would have helped. Let's try putting my weight in upside down. Sometimes that helps too. Hey, knit that time. Oh, but not that time. We got a whole slew of stuff that got missed. It's just in those corners. It's knitting beautifully everywhere else. Not sure what the hang up is, but I guess we'll keep trying. Fortunately, it's not hard to knit missed stitches. It's just, I don't know why we're missing them. All right. We're going to give up on the weight and go ahead and put the V-hook in and see if maybe that's the problem. I feel like 6 rows into the foot, we shouldn't be dropping those corner stitches anymore. I don't know if this will fix the problem or not, but we're gonna try. All right, let's see what that does for us. Nothing. Did nothing for us. Let's try putting this little. See if that helps any. Let's see if we can. So see, it's kind of tightened back up again, and I didn't want it to do that. Or is it just stay loose? It's not wanting to do that. Well, I don't know, y'all. Sometimes it's just fiddly. It doesn't want to stay at the loose tension, even though I had it at a loose tension. So I'm going to go ahead and add my small weight to my V-hook. Actually, you know what? I really don't want to use the V-hook. I'm going to just add the small weight and my big weight. Let's see if between those two I can get it to do what I want it to do. Well, everything is knitting. I think we're doing it. I think we got it going now. Make sure it's going down in the bottom of the cylinder like it should. Alright, I'm going to pull my weights out and check for my sizing. I like to knit my socks to shoe size 7.5 using my twice sheared sheep sock ruler, and I still have a ways to go. So that's good. Yet. Oh, getting very close. Let's do another round and check it again. You'd be surprised sometimes how much difference just one round seems to make, and I don't know how that happens, but it does. Sometimes I'll think, oh, a couple more rounds, and oh, that was too many. One more round, we should be good. One more. This is very soft fabric, there we go, perfect. So that is a 65-foot round for me. And let's see how we do with the heel. I think I should have lifted that before I did that. Something don't feel right here. So we're going to take that row out and do that again. I think I've done something. I missed a step or something. It just doesn't feel right. And I have definitely learned that when something doesn't feel right, you should just go back a row. Fortunately, tinking on my sock machine is not that hard. I just lift the stitch below, put it on the needle, and take the previous stitch out. We'll just undo that row and rethink about what we're doing here. I think I failed to lift that first needle, and I was supposed to. That's what I think I did wrong. Done probably something close to 100 socks on my sock machine at this point. And I do most of them in this pattern. It is basically it's the simple toe up sock by D&D, that pattern, except instead of the wedge heel, I use just the plain heel that's in their regular simple sock cuff down version, because I do not like the wedge heel, mainly because it's too much to remember. Where is this heel? Well, right now it's proving to be too much to remember, but it's usually not that difficult. Alright, almost got it all out. Okay, so that's what I had. Yeah, I should have lifted this first needle. I didn't do that. Well, that is where the problem was. Now it looks right. There we go. Lift the next needle. I've got my heel spring on. Let's go put our heel forks on. All right, well, I apologize. I thought I hit record and I hung my hem and started going, and I happened to look over at my camera and realize it wasn't recording. So I changed my battery and I've already started hanging my hem, but everything is going beautifully, and I apologize for the missing footage there of the beginning of this hung hem. But it's going great, no problems. I didn't realize I must have just sort of half hit the button and it didn't quite catch, apparently. There we go. I like to put my heel spring on here at the end to do my latch hook bind off. I find that makes it a little easier to do. So I've gone ahead and engaged my heel spring. It just sort of helps keep some of the slack out of my way. It's looking very good so far. Should have 2 more bars to pick up. They are kind of hiding down there. It's a little snug. I can kind of see them. Come here, you. That little yellow bar right there. This yarn is kind of easy to split. I hesitate to say it's splitty because I don't know that it is. It's just easy to snag might be a better way of putting it. Easy to snag. All right, I've got all of my hem picked up and I'm ready for my bind off. I definitely like to do my bind off from outside the cylinder. I do not like to reach across the inside of the cylinder to do it. Although I know lots of people that choose to do it that way. I find this much easier. One thing I always wish that these cylinders had though is a brake. I know Dean and Bean says they don't need a brake because if you don't want to go, you just stop turning. But as you can see, my machine, when I'm trying to do the latch hook bind off, is easy to pull around because there's no brake. So if I had one thing I would change about these machines is I would add some kind of brake that I could engage, maybe right in here, so that when I don't want the thing to move, it doesn't move without me having to physically hold the handle still. sorry, I bumped the camera. I don't like to work way over there, but I'm having trouble holding the cylinder still. It kind of runs away from me. Especially in this firmer yarn that's not as stretchy. Every little tug not only moves the needle I'm tugging, but the entire cylinder. I don't know if Dean and Bean pays any attention to me at all, but if they do, I would really appreciate a break. I can't see what's going on down in there very well because it doesn't pull away from the cylinder very far. Honestly, this is actually kind of the most difficult part of this yarn that I've had so far, is trying to get, because when I pull it away from the cylinder, it doesn't stretch really well, so the whole hem kind of comes with it. I can't get a good visual of where I'm trying to put my needle or my hook down there. This is actually one of the more difficult things I've had to do with this yarn. Tension issues aside. So I really think that, like all new yarns, just playing with this yarn on the machine is what it's going to take to get it really figured out. I am really confident that with a little more tinkering, I could probably get that tension a little looser still. In the main part of the sock, but as you saw tonight, I absolutely was able to get a sock out of it. Get it off these needles here in a minute. We'll see if it actually fits, but I think it will. I'm really pleased with it overall. So a very great alternative if you do not want wool socks or if you don't want acrylic. Although I have to admit, the acrylic sock yarn is getting harder to find. I don't think Cozy Toes is making it anymore, or I don't think Hobby Lobby's making it Cozy Toes anymore, or however that worked out, Yarn Bee or whoever. And Premier Fruits does still have acrylic sock yarn that's pretty cute, but I don't think Allegro from Wisdom Yarns is making it, and I really liked that Allegro. So this BouncyBoo might be my go-to. I don't remember what the washing instructions were on it. Let's look for a second. No, it actually doesn't have any washing instructions on it. Oh, yeah, it does. They're just under there. Sorry, we've squirreled. Wash with light colors, tumble dry. Well, there you go. So you can wash it and dry it, which is great. So right now, all of my hand knit socks, I wash, and that's because I'm lazy, but I usually hang them to dry. This can be put in the dryer, which is great. See what I mean by splitty? Snagged just one of the plies, and that wasn't good. One should not have to use one's chest as a brake. I'm sorry, and I'm harping on that. It's just with this firm yarn, it's even a bigger issue than it usually is. I feel like I'm on Friends. We were on a break. Whoops, we were not on a break. We just need a break. I feel like the Kit Kat jingle would be appropriate now. Give me a break. Give me a break. Not sponsored by Friends or Kit Kat. There we go. Okay, we're coming up around the end. Almost done with this part. This is definitely the most irritating. Usually this process is a lot more smooth. But between not being able to hold the cylinder in place and the yarn not being very stretchy, this is taking a little more effort than usual. But it's still working. And actually, considering it's bamboo, it's not super stretchy, but it's okay. Just a few more and I'm done with this thing. Almost there. Last needle, y'all. Last needle. Ooh, that is going to be the hardest because there is no space in there to get my... Where? It's just so very tight. That is the end of it all. There we go. All right, folks. Okay, I don't know where my scissors have been buried at around here. There we go. Put my weight back in there for the moment. We have a sock. Oh, and I love it. It's really, really fun micro striping going on. I'm going to switch camera views and I will show you the sock. Okay, so we did it. We tried out a very new and very different sock yarn and I got a sock. It does fit. I'll put a picture of my foot in the sock up here on the screen for you to look at. So it is a fairly snug sock. I have kept the first sock just so we could kind of compare it. And you can see there's still a difference between the heel and the foot in terms of tension in both socks, but I think it is a much bigger difference in this sock. And the foot
of the first sock is definitely a smaller circumference. So this sock fits. I could get it up on my foot. It's a little snug. I actually like my socks a little snug, so for me it's perfect. But if you didn't like a tight sock, you might need to play around and just see if you can get, so you can see there, it's definitely, this sock is wider, which is good. I would have had a hard time getting my foot, I think, into, you can see it's about a, I don't know how much that is. That much difference. Let's see if I got a ruler somewhere. I have rulers everywhere. The trick is always finding one when I need it. Here we go. It's about 1/4 of an inch wider in the second sock than it was in the first sock. So definitely it was a good thing I redid it and loosened up that tension. I'll have to recone this yarn and re-knit that sock. But yeah, so there it is. But yeah, if I were going to make a lot of socks in this, and this is definitely a sock yarn I would buy and try out again. It's just going to take some playing with. I might try actually going down a cylinder size, which I know seems counterintuitive, but if I went down to the 58 needle cylinder, I could get even looser tension, and I might actually get a stretchier fabric if I wanted something looser. I could also try going up to the 64, but I don't know how well that would work because adding in 4 more needles is going to limit the amount of space you have, and it's already pretty tight. So that I could try it. I definitely don't know how successful this would be on like a 72 cylinder. The yarn is just a little bit on the thick side, but I mean, it would be worth trying. And I know sometimes I just have to work with the yarn a few times. I had some socks I made for my dad this weekend that I actually tried making the exact same socks with the exact same yarn a year ago, and I gave up because I couldn't figure out how to get a good tension on them. And this time I had no problem with it. So I think it would be something that I would just have to play with. I definitely think it would be worth playing with, and I will absolutely buy more of this yarn. Now, of course, I just finished making one sock, so I haven't worn these yet. But I will wear them this week, and I'm going to put up a little bonus-ode and talk about how they wear. And since you guys have been with me for something like 2 hours or more now, I think it would be only fair to reward you for your perseverance and share some yarn with you. Now, I don't have another ball of the BouncyBoo to share, but I do have some watercolor sock yarn that was donated to the channel by Hot Springs Fiber Company, and I actually have 4 different colorways. So I'm not planning to give away all 4 of these, but I think I will share one of these with one of you viewers. So what you'll need to do is comment below and tell me if you have any experience knitting non-wool yarn on your sock machine, and if so, what kind of yarn, and how did that go for you? Did you have some tension issues? Did you figure it out really quick? Just let me know what your experience has been. I am terrible. I meant to do my research and find out what Sorona is. I didn't do it, so let me look it up real quick, because it's 87% bamboo and 13% Sorona, but I don't know what, that's not what I need. I don't know what Sorona is. Sorona. Here we go. Sorona is a registered trademark. It is an eco-friendly fiber derived from nature, designed for performance. Well, that sounds fancy, doesn't it? I'm looking for it to tell me what it is. Talks about things they make out of it and fabric mills. I can't tell what it actually is. Something from nature. So they take sugar or glucose. They harvest a crop, take sugar or glucose from the crop. Microorganisms are added. Fermentation replaces chemical synthesis. producing PDO, propanediol. It's very scientific. You guys might have to Google this yourself. And then some other kind of acid is added to it, and the result is Sirona, a revolutionary high-performance polymer whose positive impact is felt by yarn spinners, manufacturers, and designers and consumers. So I'm not really sure what it is. It's made from plant sugar, sounds like. But I've never had anything with Sirona in it before, so that's kind of cool. So yeah. So I'm going to go make a second sock, and I will see you in a couple of weeks and let you know how these socks wear. So again, to have an opportunity to choose one of these pre-coned sock yarns, just give me a comment. Let me know if you've ever used anything other than wool on your sock machine and how it went for you. And I am going to be selecting a lucky duck to take home one of these coned yarns, one of these watercolor sock yarns. Let's see. If you're interested in taking home one of these, that's how you will have an opportunity to do that. I am going to have a good evening. I hope you have a good evening too. I hope you had fun on this adventure, exploring a new fiber with me. And I hope you have a great evening and a great day. And if it's watching this before Christmas, have a Merry Christmas. So I did eventually finish both socks. You may notice that neither of these looks like the sock I finished in the video that you saw. And that would be because what would have been the third sock that I knit, but the second sock of the pair, went so much easier and was such a better size than the one that you saw me make in the video that I went ahead and frogged that sock and did a fourth sock. So as crazy as it seems, each of these socks was knit twice, but in the end I got great fitting socks, super comfortable, and I'm very happy with them. What I did in the end to get these to knit a little bit nicer in terms of tension was after I finished the toe, instead of putting the weight back in, I just used my hand to kind of hold those stitches down, especially those corner stitches, until I got through and then put my weight in, and that seems to have solved most of my tension problems. So yeah, I got them done. They fit beautifully. I'm very happy with them. I'm going to wear them, and I will be posting a video about how they wear in a couple of weeks. Be on the lookout, because that will be when I announce the lucky duck who's going to take home some of that sock yarn.